And we're live. Camera's not on.
Hello, can you hear us out there? Let us know if you're getting our audio here. If you can hear me, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss at Internet Shitlords, and we're accompanied today by, as usual, Venger Satanis and Hentai Dad, aka Joe Bittman.
Hello.
Hentai Dad 42069.
Thank you. Yes, you're right. Sorry for not using the full name.
Full props.
And we were supposed to be joined today by a guest star. Those of you who had been on my YouTube channel might have heard both the announcement of that and then the cancellation of that in my latest video yesterday. But apparently, Grim Jim was going to guest star, and he was going to tell us all about his newest product, and it would have been his first appearance since he quit the show in a huff because he's a lockdown hysteric. And well, it was going to be really exciting to meet him and find out what he's doing and debate with him about the quarantine and vaccinations and stuff. But well, none of that was to be, unfortunately, because Grim Jim has had some kind of a health issue. He had to cancel. He's talked about it a little bit on his Twitter. I'm sure he'll explain more of that whenever he wants to. So we just hope that he's okay, and it was really a shame that he couldn't make it. But instead of that, I posted on my YouTube channel a video asking people for suggestions about what to talk about in our episode, because we hadn't planned a lot of topics apart from, we assumed half of the night would be taking up talking about, what Grim Jim's doing, and the other half would be me and him debating. But we needed some new topics, and we got some thanks to you guys, and we're going to be talking about some of them tonight. And to start us off, Job is going to tell us about the latest update. If I'm understanding this correctly, it's the latest update to the combat wheelchair D&D rules, which you notice now that every D&D product has to feature multiple characters in wheelchairs because of the combat wheelchair. And dungeons have to now be wheelchair accessible because that is somehow a thing that would be totally realistic. Like a lot of times I say that, that criticism, people say that such and such in D&D is not realistic because it's not medieval. Doesn't make a lot of sense when you're talking about Greyhawk or the Forgotten Realms. But the idea that anyone would make a dungeon wheelchair accessible is just, much less than all of them would be, is really goddamn stupid. It isn't realistic anywhere. So with that, over to you, Hentai Dad. Tell us what's going on with the newest update, and it's just dumber than ever, right?
Yeah. So I just wanted to do a quick little thing on the combat wheelchair that just came out at the 28th, so yesterday. But before, I just want to say one more thing is that, we didn't have any topics this week, which I think is that's kind of a pretty good sign, because I guess, us pushing back is working, right?
Yeah, it's been real. They've been real quiet lately, really quiet.
Yeah. So but good news there. But anyway, the combat wheelchair. Yes. All right. So the combat wheelchair 3.0 just got released yesterday. It's a free PDF, so it won't cost you any money to laugh at it. But who is it? It's Sarah Thompson, I think her name is. She's at Mustang Arts on Twitter. So if you just go to her Twitter, you can find the links to download the PDF for free. But it features 14 new subclasses. So one of them, is the artificer specialist, and it lets you build and pilot a mech suit. There's the barbarian path of the fatigued. So barbarians are kind of out there up in the front of combat a lot of times, and they can possibly become disabled. So this is a special path just for a barbarian. that you don't want to end his career after his spinal cord was severed or something. They've got what was that?
That's kind of a cool idea in a way, but I'm sure, and I haven't read the whole spiel, just what you said.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they find a way to wussy it up to such a degree that it's just this cringe level victim. I don't know, if it's not white people, straight white men oppressing people, then it's the trans Black lesbians that are the ultimate victim in the universe and need so much help. And I don't know. I mean, there's a way to do it in a cool way where Barbarian is seeing his better days, but he's still awesome and kicking ass and doing what he can to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Well, look, if you want to talk about a barbarian that is like disabled and badass, you can have that. If you've ever watched the show Vikings, right, you got Ivar the Boneless there, who was a real person, right? And he was really, by all accounts, he was really in some way disabled. We don't know exactly in what way, but that's why they called him Ivar the Boneless. He couldn't walk, right? And he was an absolute monster. The guy was a complete badass. But you don't do that by inventing a MacGuffin that eliminates all of the disability, right? That's just stupid.
Oh, that's in there too?
Well, what I mean is any of the combat wheelchairs are set up so that basically it eliminates the concept that being in some way handicapped or disabled is a disadvantage compared to being normal, right? Compared to not having a handicap or a disability, right?
Right.
So they want to create this idea that again, in this whole concept in their minds of social equity, right? You couldn't claim that a quadruple amputee is going to not be able to do some things as well as somebody who has all four limbs, right? That would be bigoted, right, in their mind, because that's the problem when you go from the idea of, equality of opportunities to the idea of equity, of equality of outcome, right? Because it's Harrison Bergeron coming to life. Somebody asked here, Ronald Pitts said, so there are no more pit traps in the wheelchair accessible dungeons? No, Ronald, there are pit traps in wheelchair accessible dungeons. But if somebody in a combat wheelchair falls victim to them, then your entire party is bigoted and you're banned from ever playing D&D again.
Well, no, their little jet engines underneath their chair come on if there's a pit trap, so they can fly over it.
That's right. They shouldn't fall victim to the pit trap. But if they do, you're in huge trouble, right? Making a character with a combat wheelchair means that nothing bad should be allowed to happen to them, right?
All of them should have a Mary Sue bumper sticker on the back of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the idea of a mecha, right? Like, okay, let's say you had some guy, he was a wizard or a techno wizard or a technologist or something like that. And he was handicapped. And he uses his genius to make a machine that not only allows him to move around, but also to be, stronger and faster and better. Yeah, that's an almost a story out of literature, right? Like that's something that would make perfect sense. But the problem is that would only make sense in the context of setting, in settings that are either gonzo settings that have really high technology as well as, the traditional fantasy. So like maybe in certain kingdoms of a weird fantasy setting, or in an extremely high fantasy setting where magic is so powerful that it allows you to make suits of mobile Gundam armor, right? Or something like that. And if you were doing it in one of those settings, it would be fine. But if you're doing it, the problem is that anybody who gets that book is going to demand to the DM whatever, you're playing Game of Thrones, right? We're playing in Westeros. Okay, I demand that I have the mecha suit, right? Because if not, you're a bigot. And that's where you get into the problem.
Yeah, it says over and over at the beginning, that no one in a combat wheelchair is no more powerful than any other character. But then if you read all the stuff, it's like,
They're more powerful.
Yeah, seems like it's more powerful. So if you're into warlocks, they got the Pact of the Throne, and one of the things you can do is turn your wheelchair into a throne. Because I don't know, you're just gonna sit around and demand that people serve you. I don't know. The whole thing with introducing like disabled character, like this whole disabled person's ecology is, you know, in a modern society, it takes, you know, teams of people to, you know, help people work around their disability, you know? So I you know, I just, for me, it just breaks any kind of verisimilitude to have, you know, be wheeling someone around in a wheelchair through a dungeon, or even, you know, or if their wheelchair has got, you know, some kind of autonomous magic that's rolling them around, then, I mean, I guess in a magic world, I guess you could do something like that. It just, you know, it's not really something I'd want to play.
Aaron the Pedantic, who is here tonight, hello Aaron, has written in the chat, he says, Sarah Thompson blocked me, even though I was pretty favorable to her combat wheelchair design, probably because I follow Pundit and Venger. Yeah, that is probably the reason.
Before we move on, I just want to say, you know, just the art alone is worth the download. People, go check it out. There's a tiger in a wheelchair, like fighting. There's a werewolf person in a wheelchair. There's a paraplegic with ghostly limbs pushing a button, and then they're in a wheelchair. And then I think there's supposed to be this warlock pact of the throne or something. It might be a throne. And then underneath is the word submit. The caption is submit. I don't understand, but anyway,
that's you. They're telling you to submit, right? You must submit to our nonsense and accept the stupid thing and pretend that it's serious, because if not, you are going to be a political enemy, you know?
Yeah.
Or it's a homage to Islam or something.
Charles Smith says, the bumper stickers all say, if you can read this, you're oppressing me.
That was good.
Oh man, that's good. Okay. All right. Well, do we want to go into our second topic, or?
Well, give me a sec here. I'm going to look through the remaining comments in case there's anything else to mention. Well, Bob Birch points out there's whole magic systems to overcome most things, like stairs, vertical climbs, pit traps, underwater, etc. But they're kind of expensive and would require a person with 4 functional limbs. You know. Rob Couture says, it would be interesting if you were playing a character with a handicap and there were actual penalties for it, rather than to lower the bar and put ramps in all the dungeons. Well, yeah. I mean, in Lion and Dragon, the critical hit system means that, excuse me, you might get a character that could end up having, you know, losing a hand or an eye or an arm in battle. And in my current Lion and Dragon campaign, I've got one character who had exactly that happen, where he lost he lost basically a hand, his sword hand, I believe. No, his shield hand, and then set up a primitive method to be able to attach a shield to what was left of his arm for battle, and you know, and this has become a part of a feature of his character, and it's interesting, and it's cool because it's a guy overcoming a challenge, right? But the idea, oh, well, you start with a combat wheelchair means that you have no challenge, right? The point isn't, in the combat wheelchair idea, the point isn't to overcome a challenge. It's to say, well, there shouldn't be any challenge to begin with, right? It's to say you're a victim because you're a special minority of some kind, in this case, somebody with a disability. But that disability at the same time, our dogma says, cannot affect you in any way. And it doesn't, and it means that, and you have, everybody has to pretend that that person would be absolutely just as capable of doing anything as anybody else. And so therefore in the game, you're not allowed for there to be any kind of a penalty or a disadvantage. Similar, just like, you know, you can't allow any other condition to allow a disadvantage anymore if it's, except, you know, I suppose if it's to a straight white male character, right? That could be allowed. So it's really sad, you know?
Yeah. I've got a prosthetic section in Brutal Blades at least, but all the prosthetics kind of make your life or make your stats worse really. You use a peg leg and you have like -5 to your movement and stuff like that. There's no combat wheelchairs in Brutal Blades.
Obviously. Yeah. All right, so I guess we can move on to the next topic. There were a lot of people who had given a lot of suggestions about what we could talk about today. But by far, the one that was most frequently mentioned was, interestingly enough, that we talk about a thread that has appeared on the RPG site. That's my forum. I didn't start this thread. I didn't have anything to do with it originally, but I think it's a very interesting thread. It's caused some discussion. There are some people, well, obviously people on the left are very mad about it in some areas, but a lot of other people, there are some mixed opinions about it. And of course, there's been a whole process of trying to determine how to form this list right now. You guys know that and I think both Avenger and Job you guys are also not in favor of the idea of blacklists or canceling or stuff like that, right? Boycotting can depend on what you say, right? But one thing I do always say is that you shouldn't, each individual person should not give money to people who despise them, right? And so if you know that there are certain companies that have said things and done things, or designers that make it really clear that they utterly despise you, then my advice, I mean, you don't have to take it, but my advice would be don't give money, don't buy products from those people who hate you or who hate your hobby or who hate how you are in in what they consider their hobby now. And the thing is, a lot of these companies are pretty transparent, but a few of them are kind of, they somewhat conceal what they're doing, right? Like they talk about this only in certain areas, and the products themselves, you don't know exactly how extreme the people who made them are if all you're doing is picking up the product. And some people might argue, well, it doesn't matter, then I don't care. If the product is good, I'll buy it anyways. That's also an argument. So this is what we can talk about today. So the thread is called the TTRPG Guide to Woke Companies. I don't know if Job, if you put the link in the description.
I will. I did not.
No, you didn't. Okay, but if you go on to the rpgsite.com, which is in the description, you link there, and then you go to the pen and paper role-playing discussion, you'll find it there. It's called TTRPG Guide to Woke Companies, right? And the main thing it is that a guy, a poster named Ocule, who is a relatively new member to the site, said, I was thinking on the topic of fighting back and not giving money to people who hate you, so I decided the best thing to do was make a compilation list of companies and RPGs that are woke, those that are just sitting on the fence, and those that are not woke. It might be helpful when looking at various RPGs to know what you're getting into before you buy in. If there are any other companies that you know of, just comment with the company or RPG line and why you think it is. I mean, why you think they would fit into one of the three categories. I'm sure I'll get some stuff wrong, but it might be a good thing to have around. And so there's 30 pages on the thread. The first page has the basic list that Ocule started with, and then as he goes along, he has updated it a couple of times. The plan is that when he feels that it's, he asked me about this. Again, I didn't plan any of this. I didn't know anything about this thread ahead of time, but when I saw it, I don't think it's a bad idea exactly. So when he's got a kind of complete final or semi-final list, we're going to probably lock this thread and put a pinned thread to the RPG site that will have this list on there. And so the list has three categories: green, yellow, and red. And green are companies that are, in one sense or another, very clearly not in the woke camp, which doesn't necessarily mean that they have any kind of a political message. Companies and some game designers, like he put me on there, right? And even though I'm not a publisher, but because it's me, and I think Venture, you're on there too. And so these are people that are definitely not in the woke camp. And And then the yellow is the people right in the middle, the ones that we either don't know, or that they might be sort of woke, they might pander a little or bend the knee a bit, but that they haven't done anything that is like super obviously putting them in the extreme category. And then the red are the people that very clearly despise you and aren't afraid to let you know it. And so there's quite a list of names there. So
I was, why don't we just like read through it and we can just kind of add on to it, or just kind of talk about some of this stuff.
Well, first of all, what do the two of you think of the concept itself? Because I could see some people saying, well, this is because SJWs have made lists saying, oh, these are our enemies, right, in the RPG hobby, and inevitably, me and Venger at least are always on there, and so is Grim Jim and James Raggy and Alex Macris and these people, and. So is this better than what they're doing? Is it the same? Is it worse? Should we do it? Should we not do it? What do you two think?
I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, as long as you put, try to put, the guy tried to put at least some reasons. I think some of these other lists are like, kind of like block lists, like, these people suck, they're Nazis. You know what I mean? But I mean, if it's just information, then that people can look up, then I could support that. I mean, I'm not gonna. I would never just buy this list or copy this list and be like, I'm never gonna buy it because these people are on this list. I mean, I would read through it, and people can make up their own mind what they want to do. I don't know. What do you think, Venger?
I don't love it, but if the left is going to use it, then I think we should use it, because you sometimes just gotta fight fire with fire. This whole woke thing started because normal people were like, whatever, and they just got apathetic and stopped standing up for things.
Yeah.
And so there was so little pushback that the left just kept going and going and going. And on the right, they were just like, but we get to keep our tax cuts. And totally lost the culture war. And so now you got to pick up arms, metaphorically, and go running at the enemy and shooting him and making him die on that hill. So it's unfortunately necessary these days, but I wish it wasn't.
Yeah, I kind of like having this list too, just historically, because as soon as I don't know, it seems like the dam is breaking on this kind of like woke grip over a lot of things. Slowly, it's I'm sure it's going to take a while, but all these people are going to slink away and be like, oh, I always hated those woke jerks and all this other stuff, and it's like, no, you were like in the front of the line shouting at people,
I think 20 years from now, woke people will be looked at as like we see or would remember hippies today. You kind of think of them in a hazy, almost fond way because it's so far away from reality that you don't have to remember it that clearly.
I don't know. I think they'll have a worse reputation because the hippies at least had good music, and comedy. Right. These guys have nothing. Yeah. These guys will be thought of, I don't know, like, either going to be thought of sort of like the Hare Krishnas from the 70s are thought of today,
Yeah, maybe. Or
except less fun. The Hare Krishnas, even they could, dance around and play the drums and stuff.
Yeah.
So as far as general comments,
Hare Krishnas in horror movies, though.
Yeah, it's true. As far as general comments, though, I think that there's two important points regarding this list, and I think the first thing to note, I think you've got right now, Joe, the green section up here. So this is the list of games that are, or game designers rather, and publishers that are not woke or apolitical. And if you look at this list, you see that pretty much every product on it, I don't know a single product that is on this list that has overtly political elements to their games. Venger, you've had a bit of some anti-SJW humor in a few of your products. And Lamentations arguably has some very, very veiled messages in one or two products. But literally nobody else, right? Nothing on this list is of products. They're not, for example, none of these products are overtly pushing right-wing politics from 2021 in the games, right? They're not. And that's the biggest difference between that, because the danger here is some people are going to look and say, oh, well, green, okay, these are all the right-wing games, and red are all the left-wing games. But that's not true, right? Green are just games that have no particular political alignment to them. And then the red ones, a lot of the products that are of the people that are on the red list are products that have overt political propaganda and messaging in the games themselves. As to whether this is a good idea or not, I'd say the one reason why I think that a list like this can be good is because there are also people and publishers on the red list that will intentionally misrepresent themselves, right? That in some of their products try to in their promotion of those products to regular gamers, try to say, hey, look, this is just a regular game, right? It's just a cool, fun game. And so if these people are not tapping into, like, they're not looking at these guys' Tumblr or Twitter feeds or whatever, they're not going to know, and they're going to spend money on a product that ends up being full of that political indoctrination, and that are also shitty games for the most part. Because another thing is that you look at the level of quality. There's a lot of in the yellow list. There's a lot of gaming companies that are basically of good quality, even if some of them have some kind of slight tipping of the hat or bending of the knee to the current woke rules, right? But you look at like red, and almost all of the stuff that those guys are in, like almost everything in there is stuff that is not going to be particularly good products either.
Yeah.
So it's good to alert people so that they can know ahead of time if they're about to spend money on a product that is going to just, that's going to preach at them and is not going to be what they thought it was going to be.
All right. Well, if we're going to get a half hour out of this content, let's read these. Plus, I mean, there's people that don't want to read forum posts or watching YouTube. I think we should just kind of go through it real quick and add our own little stuff to it, and we'll go through them page by page. But all right, so the green list, obviously we got RPG Pundit is at the top of the list there. Not a publisher, but whatever.
Not a publisher.
Many publishers working with him. Troll Lord Games, so you guys know them. They make Castles and Crusades. They have
they support veterans.
Yeah, they support veterans. I've never seen them make any kind of political statements at all. Studio Agate, Shadows of Esteren. They haven't really made any statements as far as the person who made this list. I've seen the books. I don't really know anything about that game. Do you guys know it?
Not really, no.
Okay, Pressus Intermedia, so makers of the genre division system and a publisher of many other games. Never seen anything woke from them. Owner seems like a cool, level-headed guy. All right. Otark Axe. No indication one way or the other. Well, we all know who that guy is, right? That's the evil Alexander Macris.
Otark is Alexander Macris, my former boss at Defy Media. The products, well, that's a perfect example, right? Because Alexander Macris is obviously a right-wing guy in terms of his personal life, in terms of when he writes about politics. But if you pick up Adventure Conquer King, you read it cover to cover, there is nothing in there that has any kind of political messaging. Nothing, right? It is zero politics as a game. So it's a perfect example.
But in today's world, zero politics for the hard left means it is political.
Silence is violence, bigot.
Exactly, which is really fucked up and hard for normal folks like us to understand. But their paradigm is like so different from ours, or different than the Democrats and liberals from like the 90s, that it's hard for us to even conceive of like what they're talking about from their perspective, because it's like on a whole different reality. So that's one of the reasons why A, communication is really hard, and B, there's so much animosity and anger because we don't see eye to eye on almost anything. That's why we're almost having a civil war here in America, because things are just so tense and aligned opposite and fucked up. It's incredible.
Why is that? Why does everyone hate Alex Macris too? It's didn't he like work with Milo or something?
Yeah, he was for a while.
yeah.
He was the manager for Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh, okay. All right. So obviously he's evil. Necrotic Gnome, Old School Essentials. They seem to be apolitical. Basic Fantasy seems like they keep their politics out of their products. Osric, same thing. I don't think they're really political. What's like John? Name is a cool guy that. White Box, same thing. Goblin Lord Games, Labyrinth Lord, same thing. I got a point with this next one. Frog God Games, Swords and Wizardry. So the guy who is doing this thread said, did a bit of pandering with an all-female printing of Swords and Wizardry. Suspect, but worth noting. So Frog God Games is like headquartered, I don't know, 30 minutes from my house. And my daughter was on the swim team with Bill Webb's daughter. So I would see him a lot, and he did try to do. He tried to work with that Contessa people person. I forgot her name. Stacy Delafano or whatever. Might have some new kind of name now. I don't know.
Delafano.
Yeah. So he tried to work with her. I guess she pitched him doing this kind of. Like a all women contributors book or whatever, and he was like, all right, cool, that sounds great. So they ended up that I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So he said that like nobody bought the fucking book. They've got like stacks of it. Nobody bought it. They call it the vagina book because the front of the book looks like it's like a flower. So it was obviously supposed to be a vagina on the cover of that one. So,
won't go broke.
Yeah. So he tried. I never got the impression he was pandering. He's just being open and like trying new things.
I mean, he thought there could be a market for it. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I think he's a solid green. Plus, God, he's been under fire from all kind. Jessica Price and all these kind of.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know. Feminist, third wave feminist types. Okay, so Postmortem Studios, everyone knows that's Grim Jim. So,
that's right.
Same thing, he's been battle tested. Palladium, same thing, they're fine. Northwind Adventures, Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. Great, that's a great system. So the guy wrote on there, hired some woke artists. Well, you can't not hire a woke artist. I'm sorry. Artists are just weird people, man. Some of them are like woke, some of them are not woke, and whatever, man. Just do your job and shut up. Venger Satanis, Alpha Blue, Anti-SJW, Peterson Games.
By the way, I'll note that in one of the update, because you've got, I think, from the first post here, which is the original list. In the updated list, he changed Venger Satanis to Corthalis Publishing. So because Venger, unlike myself, Venger does publish RPGs, right? I just write them and let other people publish my stuff.
Yeah.
You can also include Charlton there, because that's just as anti-social justice warrior as Alpha Blue.
Yeah, he also added Chult to it in the update version. Yeah, so he's mentioned Chult there. Yeah.
I edited these down a little. I took out some of like stuff that wasn't that informative, just because to get these to fit on 3 separate slides, I had to kind of edit them down a little bit too. So Catalyst Games, makes Shadowrun. I didn't follow this link, but about their statement on social justice. Did you guys read that?
Yeah.
Or?
In the updated version, Catalyst Games has now been moved to yellow. So
it has. Okay.
A lot of people apparently disagreed with the OP that Catalyst is green because they have apparently been doing a lot of campaigning for social justice. So
Yeah. Okay, so
I
there's
think
a couple
they're
left.
still on the margin, you know.
There's a couple left. Riot Minds, Trudvang, Lex Occultum. I've never run across it. I've heard these names. I've never seen them at all, but they appear to be apolitical. You can make your own proprietary system or D&D adaptation. It's got good artwork supposedly. Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Fuck. Edgelords cannot be contained. We were on the receiving end. They were on the receiving end of the cancel mob and Twitterati for a while. They're always on on the receiving end. So Lamentations, they're way up there. Though James kind of, I don't know. I wish he would take more of a stand. But I've told him that multiple times. He's who he is. So. For Gold and Glory, nothing is just going woke, blah, blah, blah. Immersive Ink, delving deeper, indifferent. So.
Yeah, I'll mention in the latest update, they've also added now Sine Nomine, that's Kevin Crawford stuff, Stars Without Number and Scarlet Heroes, which several people I see on the chat had mentioned that Kevin Crawford should be on the green list. That's right. Kevin Crawford, as far as I know, has never expressed any real political positions of any kind. He seems to be really professional and dedicated to just making products. I really have no idea what his personal politics are. Maybe somebody else does, but I mean, as far as his both public and personally public face are concerned, he's definitely in the green zone. And then also Schwalb Entertainment, Shadow of the Demon Lord. They had it says they bent the knee for a while and put a pro BLM message, but it has since been taken down. So they probably can be in the green section.
Yeah, I had noticed that wasn't on there before, and I always like Rob, but I do remember he like donated to the bail. He was like, I've never been political, but I'm this is wrong, and I'm donating to the bail project or whatever. I think that was the thing where they were bailing Antifa rioters out of jail.
Yeah, but they presented it as though they were bailing Black Lives Matter protesters out of jail who did nothing wrong, right? So right. A lot of people, I think, who also are stupid in the sense of not being savvy to the media's tricks, not having a critical eye to that, fell for this and gave money to that sort of stuff or to BLM itself or whatever, thinking, oh, well, they're good people. They're like, it's like Martin Luther King, right? When really it's nothing like Martin Luther King, So it could have just been that they were fooled. A lot of people were fooled.
All right. Well, we're at the end of the green list. Why don't we insert our shills while we're on a high here, and then we can get negative.
Okay. All right.
You're up, Pundit.
I'm first. All right.
I just have your Invisible College. I think that you didn't send me an update, so.
Yeah, well, the Invisible College is still my latest product that's actually out. It's doing really well. Now, there have been a couple of developments since the last episode because there have been apparently our publisher is not very happy with the printing quality for what was the printing color for the printing quality of what was the premium color hardcover of the Drive-Thru RPG. It's just really a pity, but we've taken down the premium color hardcover. We now still have the standard color hardcover and the standard color soft cover. Ironically, at the same time, for reasons we have no knowledge of, Drive-Thru said that there was some kind of problem with the black and white soft cover, so they took that down. So what you have now on Drive-Thru is just, you can get the PDF or you can get the color version in soft or in hardcover. In Amazon, you can still get the color soft cover, the Amazon version, which clearly, I think, in my opinion, clearly has more intense colors. I think Drive-Thru, according to what my publisher told me, because I don't know much about this, but he explained within the limits of my capacity to understand publisher stuff, which is not very high, that Drive-Thru changed their printers recently. They got or Lightning Source, which is Drive-Thru's printer, changed their printing, which actual printers they use lately, and apparently the quality is not very good. So, I think the standard color hardcover from Drive-Thru is perfectly nice. If you want a hardcover, that's the one for you to get. If you want a soft cover, then you could also get the one from Drive-Thru. But if you wanted to have really intense color, then you want to get the one from Amazon. But the Amazon one, the paper quality isn't quite as nice as the one in Drive-Thru. So it kind of depends on what you consider the biggest priority for you as a consumer. But I wanted everybody to know so that they have an idea of what to choose. Apart from that, I'll mention that the next compilation, the next old medieval authentic compilation volume is being worked on right now by Spectre Press, but it could take time. There's a chance it won't come out until early next year or something like that, because these things always take a lot of time. And finally, I'll mention that I in terms of my own next big project, I'm very close to being done my first draft of my book on the Third Crusade and the Silk Road. So this is going to be an OSR setting book, you could say. That is, obviously, it's meant to be for Lion and Dragon, but it'll be usable with any OSR game. And it's got tons and tons of detail of the setting for playing in the Middle East, basically, and the Silk Route from Damascus to the entrance to China during the era of the Third Crusade and shortly after. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really good product. It's going to be relatively big. And I haven't officially started yet, but I'm going to be looking to see what publisher I'm going to use. It might be one I've already worked with, but I'm open always to the possibility of other people who are publishers approaching me if they're interested in publishing my book. So if you're a publisher and you would be kind of interested in doing that, well, get in touch with me and we'll see. Let's see what you have to offer. I don't have any idea when it'll come out. Almost certainly that won't come out until next year either, but there we have it. There will be more RPG Pundit Presents books coming out in the course of this year, PDFs that is. But yeah, that's basically it. You guys know what all my stuff is. If you want to support me, get on to Drive-Thru or Amazon and pick up my books. Either The Invisible College or Star Adventure, which is doing really well too, or The Last Sun, which is a great book and doing quite well. All of these have already gotten like bestseller status. So check it out, support me, and get something that's useful for you to game with. I'm on the green. I'm the #1 spot on the green list for a reason, because my games, they're not about political pandering. They're not games that are just meant to be, for you to virtue signal about or to just have on your shelf. They're games that are, again, game books that are meant for you to use in your campaigns, and I always try to make them as usable as possible. That's it for me.
All right, you're up, Andrew.
Okay.
Got your Kickstarter up there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's the most recent thing. I decided to kickstart the game mechanic that Rob Couture and I have developed over the last few weeks, and I've been playtesting as much as I can on Roll20. Crimson Escalation is just all about making combat faster and more brutal. I'll just explain it real quick right here. Like, every round, you increase the crit range by 1. And essentially, that's it. So people ask, well,
why am I paying you money then? You already told me the whole thing.
What's that?
You just told me the whole thing. Why should I pay for your Kickstarter?
I told you the whole thing right now. Like, how you supporting the Kickstarter? Well, it's only $1, and then you get a nice PDF, which will, outline it and also give advice on like edge cases and stuff like that. I mean, a little bit of this is a vanity project because I'm going to have a foreword in there. Rob is going to have a foreword, Rob Couture, and the co-creator of this mechanic. And, we're going to go on and on about how it developed and why it's awesome and how awesome that we are. And basically it's to raise awareness too, just so people hear about it. I would love to get, I don't care as much about the money because the PDF itself isn't going to cost that much. It's probably only going to have the cover arts for the art, which I already acquired. But I want this to expand and spread out through D&D land, and not just D&D. Like people will play OSR games, obviously, maybe Pathfinder dudes, anything that uses a D20 and has things like critical hits. This could work for. And I would like 1,000 backers. That's my goal. 1,000 backers to really show that the idea has legs and that it's expanding and getting out there and people are trying it. I mean, if you don't like it and don't want to use it, that's fine. But at least give it a try because I think it's really kick-ass. And a lot of other people do too. So yeah, there's that Kickstarter that it's got like 20 more days. What else? Just the other usuals. Oh, I just released the Chult After Dark PDF. So if you love Chult and you don't have that yet, you can get that. It's mostly adventures, but it's also got some GMing advice, lots of tables, cool artwork, some optional rules like sex in Crimson Dragon Slayer D20 or any D&D based game. It's got a lot of cool stuff. So Chult After Dark, and then if you want to pop over to the Kickstarter, Crimson Escalation. I blogged about it too, so you can see that. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, all right. So I found some more crap that in a box that I never sold at a con or anything. I got some more, I don't know, 5 or 10 copies of fanfic. This is the the story game that I wrote back in my story game hanging out days. And
Wow.
Yeah, my favorite part of this though is the libidinal restraint table, which I will read for you now. Selected readings from Joe Bittman. So basically, you play with a deck of cards, and how you set the pace of the game. And the aces are bases. You're at bat, first base, second base, third base, home run. So when you're playing the game and you flip over, you each have some cards where you flip over the cards to set, change what kind of things can happen in the game. And so this is where the libidinal restraint table comes in. So when you're at the base at bat, the allowable character conduct of the story game characters you have is flirting, seduction, subtle innuendo, lingering touches, hugs, back rubs. When you get to first base, it's necking, open mouth kissing. Second base is groping over the clothes or undershirt, feeling up, no shirts. Third base is heavy petting, fingering, hand jobs, oral, mild ass play. And then home run is all the above and anything goes. And this was a very old version with a smaller table that I did not look at. Okay, so the newer version has more things on the table. Just download it. I have Into the Demon Idol. I think I got 30 left of them. And then I found 2 sets of the Bone Divination for Game Masters. And I lost the old inserts, the one that you reviewed on your show, Pundit. So what I did is I took the chapter from the Book of Antitheses that's coming out from Lamentations in a couple months, and I edited it down into a little booklet. It's, I don't know, maybe 8-page booklet or something in here. So
wow!
But I've only got 2 of these left. I don't have enough to. I guess I ran out of cowrie shells, so I can order some more of those, I guess, and build some more packets. But there's 2 there.
Well,
if someone wants them, if I can send me an email. Okay.
If you want to know more about bone divination for game masters, go on my channel. It is the first video I ever made, if I'm not mistaken. That was the very first video on my channel when I reviewed
Yeah, it
bone
was your
divination.
first. At least I remember you saying it's your first video review.
Yeah,
He gave it a big thumbs down.
Video.
He said I was culturally appropriating a bunch of things, and then I accused him of accusing me of cultural appropriation. He ran away from that, of course.
So, all right, is that everything for you,
Yeah,
Joe?
that's everything.
All right, so I got some comments here from the audience about what we've been talking about.
Let's go back.
Ronald Pitt says, funding your own demise is probably not the best long-term strategy. Yes, that's kind of the idea behind this list. Aaron the Pedantic says, SJWs tend to do well with crowdfunding, but you rarely see people play the products if they even come out. He also adds, RPG sales for those kinds of lefties seems to almost be activist money laundering. I think 90% is unplayed. I think that's a very, very interesting way of putting it. Activist money laundering. It kind of is. Let's see what else we've got.
I love that too. The activist money laundering. That should become the title of one of my books.
Yeah, well, it could be a plot for an adventure in Alpha Blue or something like that.
Absolutely. Or Charles.
Judd Goswick says, for Invisible College, a black on white without faux parchment background would be great. Well, yeah, I can see that some people had some problem with the not with the printing quality, but rather with the choice to do this kind of ancient book style look to the way the type and the background is. I think for me it's totally legible, but I guess some people have a little more trouble with it than others, and it's something that I'm continuing to talk about with the publisher to see if there's something we can do about that in the future. Hopefully that'll work out. I've posted on the live chat a link. I don't know if it's going to stay on there or not, because sometimes live chats erase links from someone other than the admin. To the discussion, to the thread of the on the RPG site that we're talking about. Charles Smith says, pundit discourages games with political pandering regardless of politics. Correct. Yeah, I don't think you want. I wouldn't be a big fan of a game that was full of, let's say, Republican propaganda either. Judd Gossick says, a Lion and Dragon-based samurai game would be cool someday. Well, maybe. I think for me, you'd be more likely to get a Lion and Dragon game set in Song Dynasty China more than Japan. I've always been I know that a lot of nerdy types prefer Japanese fantasy to Chinese one, but I always like the Chinese stuff better. Judd Gossick says, pundit's video is why I asked Job to buy a copy of. I'm guessing that's of the. I'm guessing that's of the Bone Divination.
Yeah, he got that. He got everything. He emailed me. He just got everything I had when I mentioned it last week. So.
Oh, there we go. Charlotte Williams says, that Crimson escalation thing, is that supposed to be a period joke? If so, it's pretty funny.
All humor is intentional. However, that's not the origin of the name. As I just typed in the text in the chat, whatever. I got the Crimson because the first thing I put it in was Crimson Dragon Slayer, D20. Right. I updated the RPG like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So if you already downloaded it, there's the latest version sitting for you in your drive-thru RPG account. And then the escalation, because it reminded Rob and I and a few other people we talked about it with before going out with it. People mentioned 13th Age, and they had an escalation die as a mechanic with the same kind of agenda, basically upping the ante with combat and making it sort of more deadly or more, flashy and dangerous. The longer the longer combat went through, successive rounds. So that's where we came up with Crimson Escalation. I came up with it, but everybody else liked it. So, yeah.
All right,
Dino the S9 says it's like Pundit said before, SJW crowdfunding is really just virtue signaling and maybe buying absolution. Good point. Windy City Weeb says, I saw when you were flipping through your World of the Last Sun book, Pundit, there were some pages about psychoactives. Yes, in World of the Last Sun, among the different sections, there is a whole section on drugs that you can and how they would affect you during the game. So there is an entire section on that in World of the Last Sun, because there's a particular area, there's a city that is basically a center for the drug trade in the World of the Last Sun, and so that gets detailed in there. All right, I think we're ready to continue, Job. If you want to continue to guide us through the list.
We're on to the yellow list. So yellows are sort of woke or panderers. So I guess Catalyst Games is on this one now. We got Fantasy Flight Games. So hard to decide if it belongs here or just in the woke category. They gender and race swap characters, ban words that might be considered offensive like bonsai, and generally allow the woke mob to take over the forums and run away with their trade dress, etc. They don't constantly harass potential customers and tell them how much they hate them at least. You guys got any Fantasy Flight stories?
Not in particular, except I'm not a big fan of most of their RPGs, but that's for purely RPG related reasons, not
right. Yeah, it's interesting too as we go from the green to the reds, how like the greens are actually better games too. I guess you don't need to like, throw your politics out there if your game is good,
Yeah.
So we got next here on the yellow list, Talasaurian games. Mixed bag, in my opinion. They lean heavily into infinite diversity and infinite combinations. I'm not sure what that means. Pundit?
It's from Star Trek. That's where it is. That's where it's from originally, right? Oh, okay. It was supposedly the basis of Vulcan philosophy, but it's something that lately has been used by some SJWs to suggest, a celebration of absolute diversity.
Okay. So they got a lot of pronouns in their bios, but the guy who made this list says they're not gone full crazy just yet. So Goodman Games tried to protect itself by distancing itself from Judges Guild and donating to the ADL and a defamation league. Other than that, they can't really find anything else on them. Praise BLM for a time. So yeah, I also made a slide of their Black Lives Matter poster that they made. We got Doug Kovacs art with we got the characters Hugh Hefblade, and then that's this character's name. Anna Dahaka? Can't remember. Somebody tell us in the things. I always thought it was funny that it's like, imagine Better Worlds is starting with this one, and you're like, okay, like a medieval world where you're just there's no rule of law and you're just gonna be killed and enslaved. Like, what are you talking about here? Anyway, okay. So next is on the yellow list is Chaosium. Changed Interworld lore to be more for RuneQuest. Some censorship and bending to BLM LGBT plus demands. Chaosium is kind of a crappy company, honestly. I really can't tell the stories, but they sued friends of mine and I think they suck. Monty Cook Games. Poor Monty used to make some good stuff. Tends to push things like consent in gaming, some stuff on mental illness. Otherwise, panders. I don't know, man. I think maybe Monty Cook Games should probably go to the red. I mean,
yeah, considering that the company, I mean, I think that they're in the yellow because a lot of people like Monty Cook and his products from, the earlier days. But the company itself, I mean, they were at the forefront of pushing this whole idea of safety rules and consent in RPG and all this nonsense,
Yeah, they were like the first original list or checklist for that. And a lot of that comes from what's her name, Shanna Germain.
Shanna Germain,
yeah, she's kind of trash. So, her ideas are trash. So let's see what on the yellow list we got. Mongoose Games. They had a "Don't Be a Dick" section in Paranoia, recommended by poster, open for debate about yellow or green. I'm not even sure what that means. Do you know, Pundit?
Well, I can tell you the guy that, I forget his name now, but the guy that made Paranoia,
Barney or something.
Yeah, he's I don't know if he's an SJW exactly, but he is like a hardcore liberal Democrat, an anti-Trump hysteric. He's done a lot of that sort of political posting on Twitter. Now that doesn't necessarily mean he's an SJW exactly, because he's a boomer, right? So I don't know how far he is down that road, but I'm sure he's supportive of them because they're not Republicans and they hate Donald Trump. So there you are.
He's got the "Don't Be a Dick" thing. That's like Wesley Crusher or whatever. That was his thing earlier.
That's right. That was Crusher's thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I should get going, guys. It's my time.
Wow. All right. Well, everyone, remember, if you want Venture to stay up later, support us on our Patreon page. The link is in the description below. Send us some money with super chats, and that way Venture will get to stay a little later. But I guess we'll see you next time. Sorry?
I said, or buy some of my kids.
Oh, yeah.
Are they for sale?
No.
I can update your show page. Send me some pics. I'll put them on the show page next month. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. See you.
How Inappropriate Characters gets canceled from YouTube.
Yes, Avengers, child trafficking, and no, I love my kids. Wouldn't trade them for anything in the world, but they do mean that Avengers bedtime is early.
Oh man, I'd sell one of my kids, but she turned 18, so I don't have to anymore. All right. Modifius, he spelled this wrong. Modifius publishes some woke products. They don't seem to only publish woke products. Yeah, but I don't know. I would think Modifius should go to the red just because they took, Conan and just made him into a pussy. So that is the crime that they should never, that should never be forgotten.
Was that intentional or was that just bad design?
I don't know. You remember it's just their safety tools or whatever that they fucking bolted onto Conan.
Okay, well, there you go.
Plus other shit inside of their stuff. But okay, Pinnacle Entertainment. They do Savage Worlds Deadlands. So remove the CSA from Deadlands. What is a CSA? That's a historical thing.
In the original edition of Deadlands, it was set in an alternate universe where the Confederates whether the Confederates basically won the Civil War, and so then you have the Confederate state and the Union, which I always thought was unbelievably stupid because you can't really have the Wild West if you don't have the Civil War and it's specifically the Union win, right? So as a historian, I've always hated that, and it's just stupid, right? It's just people, I don't know. There are some people that have this unreasonable hard-on for the Confederacy, less so nowadays, or at least less that will admit it. But the Wild West is all about how the fight between Confederates and the Union, Democrats from the Confederacy and Republicans from the Union continued to basically have these social conflicts in the great expansion westward that only happened because the war ended, But anyway, Now I'm just getting into like historian rage that only fellow historians will recognize as important.
Okay, so more of the Pinnacle Entertainment's crimes. They removed old art that had partial nudity and risque outfits. Boo. Also, they made sure there weren't too many white guys in their core rulebook. Still pretty solid, but they pander or cave to demands occasionally. Yeah, I guess that's an offense. That one too. It's like, I don't know. All right, Hero Games. They hire sensitivity readers. I guess that's all you need to know about Hero Games. GURP Steve Jackson Games, banned by RPGNet for not being woke, though some of the devs might be. Steve Jackson signed on to the October Surprise. People don't know that's that. They did it twice, but it was like a list of designers that were like for Hillary Clinton, and then they did another one too, right?
Yeah, in the 2016, it was Gamers for Her.
Yeah, that's Gamers for Her.
October Surprise.
Yeah,
because gamers talking about how much they hate Trump was supposed to make all the difference.
Right. So yeah, apparently Steve Jackson has a case of TDS. Yeah, I mean, I always got the impression that I thought that Steve Jackson was pretty right wing, but
well, from what I understand, Steve Jackson is a libertarian.
Oh, and, Jesus Christ!
Libertarians are difficult to define. Right? That can mean that you believe in free speech above all, or it can mean that you believe in uncontrolled, unregulated markets. It can mean that you're an anti-nationalist. You can be pro-LGBT, or you could just be a guy who wants to run around naked smoking weed. Yeah. It can mean you just want to run around naked smoking weed. So it's
all right. So Free League. Who's that? They did the Aliens? No.
They did Forbidden Lands.
Oh, okay. So standard gaming is for everyone spiel. They could go either way. Published Forbidden Lands, which slips them some anti-woke themes. Yellow leaning green. Okay. And then finally we have Atlas Games. They do Ars Magica. President of Atlas Games is total TDS. There's another blue check mark. Unsure of how badly it shows in their games. For now, it's yellow bordering on red. So this probably should be a red, but the guy likes Ars Magica probably, right?
They added a few others in the updates. They said Edge Studios, which acquired most of the Fantasy Flight Games lines, and they employ a few hardcore SJWs. Reaper Miniatures had drama about some employee getting into a fight with an Antifa sympathizer, and apparently Reaper Miniatures fired him for this. They might have fired him. I don't know. I don't know the details of that, so I'm not going to say one way or the other.
Well, Reaper was on red, so they moved him over to yellow now.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Gallant Knight Games partnered with Diogo Nogueira. In the update, they were also on red, but they moved to yellow because they have. Apart from that, there are no examples of them having done anything wrong. Hero Forge Miniatures pander hard, but are not overt about it. So, but I'm sure they'll do something stupid soon.
Probably.
So, taking a look at the comments from our readers here, Malachi's Mercurial Musings points out, correctly, I believe, SJWs do not like Mike Pondsmith from Artalsorian Games. They've called him a racist because, Mike Pondsmith is a black guy who refused to say that all cops are bastards. So on account of that, he's obviously actually a white supremacist. So I think it should be pointed out, whatever else Talsorian Games has done, that SJWs consider Mike Pondsmith very dangerous to them because he's a successful black game designer that doesn't follow their party line,
Right. Well, the thing that's so hilarious too is like he is the legend. He's the legendary black game designer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's the top. He's the top guy. He's the Gary Gygax guy. You know what I mean? If we reduce the world to what your race is,
no one can doubt his ability as a game designer.
Right? I like that guy. He seems pretty cool. I don't know a lot about him, but
Terrential says the irony is Mike Pondsmith basically predicted the current leftist plague versus via cyberpunk back in the 1980s. That's true. He there's that section that became very memeable from the cyberpunk rules that talked about how leftists became all about a new kind of segregation. Judd Goswick says Monty Cook Games, especially Shanna Germain, is seriously SJW.
Yeah.
Solomon Kane says Forbidden Land seems to lean into the racial differences. I was very surprised. They even have a map that shows where the kin races usually live. Yeah. Now I'll point out, for some reason, this thread on the RPG site got commented on by left-wing gaming SJWs from Spain in a thread that's in Spanish. And of course, since I'm completely bilingual, I happened across it and thought it was very funny. They were very indignant at the idea that the Free League is in the yellow section, because apparently from what they say, though they didn't substantiate it there in any particular way, the people involved in the Free League are apparently very pro SJW. So take that with a grain of salt, because it is SJW saying it, but odds are if they're saying it, there's got to be some reason for it. So Aaron the Pedantic says Goodman has a lot of woke sympathies, but it doesn't show in their products. And man, that Judges Guild guy had problems. Yeah. Let's see here. Shadzar said, Jober Pundit, did you say Basic Fantasy was safe? Didn't its author, Chris Gonnerman, main admin for Dragon's Foot, attack Clownfish TV for political reasons? It was on his YouTube channel. That might be true. I hadn't heard that, but yeah, possibly. Hang on. Malachi's Mercurial Musings responds to Shadzar saying, I think that was a misunderstanding. Gonnerman wants no political in BFRPG products or forums. Okay, so there we go. Shadzar responds to Musing saying he still attacked them, made a video about it, and they made a rebuttal to him. And you know where it came from is Legions of Myth mentioned Clownfish TV, praised Basic Fantasy. Mr. Triceratops says, Jackson gives me libertarian vibes, but he sounds like a lolbertarian. Yeah, maybe. Libertarians are appear in all sorts of stripes. They're hard to pin down. There's definitely the cultural libertarians tend to be Trumpians. Economic libertarians, not so much. And then there are some the really wacky libertarians seem to just be like against everything. So it's hard to say which of those Steve Jackson falls into exactly. Let's see here. Dracopol says Modiphius should be read. The first woman they hired for Conan in her first tweet immediately asked only other women to join them. Don't let even one woke person into your company.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Quite right. Jagger says Dragon's Foot has gone a bit woke, similar to N-World. Not surprising, unless you're firm in keeping the woke. It will creep in, and when one becomes a mod, watch out. Charlotte Williams says, seriously, I need to know if the company making Fading Suns is woke or not. I think it's called Ulysses Spiel, but they spell it in a different way, weird way. They also make The Dark Eye, I think. Yeah, that's a German company, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Which means these days they're probably woke, or at least Euro left.
Quote me.
All right. So you want to move on to the red section?
Let's get on to the red. Oh, yeah, baby.
And what's the top one at red? It's not a surprise to anybody.
Wizards of the Coast. They harass their customers. Right. Diversity checkbox. They hire based on race. They ban anyone that disagrees with them on social issues from all sanctioned events. True dumpster fire.
Yeah.
But, not far behind them is Paizo. So whole pages on their books telling you how you must play the game and be inclusive. harasses customers, aggressively moderates forums against anyone to the right of Stalin, retconned Galarian lore to be more inclusive. Starfinder even, this is hilarious to me, but Starfinder even had an adventure where you needed to get a professor at a university to apologize for being insensitive despite being factually correct.
Jesus.
Oh my god. I know some guys that work on that, and they probably hate me now. I haven't seen them in a while, but another adventure path for Pathfinders showed all men as incompetent, read like a Tumblr blog, and all the women were super powerful. And if you didn't bring the black lesbian disabled ranger with you, you automatically lost.
Yeah, well, Paizo was famous for saying that when you're running a gaming group, you can't just be politically sensitive to the people that are at the table. You also have to be politically sensitive to all possible peoples who aren't at the table, right? So you have to be politically correct no matter who's in your gaming table, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to do a land attribution before you start your game. And
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think you'll have some comments on this one. Zweehander, Grim and Perilous Games. Breaking Dumpster Fire is the only comment there, but do you have anything to add about our esteemed game design colleague, Daniel Fox?
Well, I think freaking Dumpster Fire pretty much covers it, actually, you know. We all know.
So, for people who don't know, that dude is like a stalker. Like, he's got TalkWalker and Google alerts out the ass that, like, as soon as if you just type, he probably, we're typing here, somehow he's going to get the transcript and he's going to jump into the chat room and start saying that we're all wrong and Zweehander is great or something. Yeah, he's a creepy dude. And I guess that's all I can say about it. Cubicle 7, not as bad as the others on this list. The art design generally shows it having extremely odd choices for portraits in Warhammer Fantasy. Ticks diversity checkbox, pronouns in their bios.
Yeah, it's a pity that Cubicle 7 at one point was making quite good games. You know?
They do.
So
didn't they do the laundry or something like that?
There was a while where they were releasing like a new game every month or something. You know, like it just seemed like crazy how much they did it.
Yeah, they had some good licenses too, didn't they?
Some of their stuff, some of their licenses were really good. Yeah,
they had Lauder for a while, right?
I mean, I was Cubicle 7 did the Doctor Who game, and I was a tester on that one. You know, I helped mold the rules for the Doctor Who RPG.
Oh, nice. Okay, so Renegade Game Studios, Vampire the Masquerade, 5th edition. Not sure where to start with these guys. Woke on their products, and they openly hate you.
Yeah,
that sounds about right. I remember there's multiple dust ups, and I don't know why you would even like get the license for Vampire if you were woke. That just makes no sense. So Onyx Path Publishing, Chronicles of Darkness, New White Wolf Publishing. Not sure if they're still around. See Modifius and Onyx Path, since they are all sister companies. Green Ronin. Oh, Jesus. So Chris Pramis is a full-on member of Antifa. I believe that, but is that documented somewhere? You know,
I'm not sure. It seems likely, but
I would believe it. I would believe it. He has a vitriolic hatred for white people. I don't know, probably. And his products reflect this. Yeah, they're just scum. Like they're the typical, like, totally clueless. This is another Seattle gaming company, by the way. But yeah, they're so clueless. They like they've had like multiple supposed harassments that they just totally swept under the rug. You know, if it's the typical leftist, like, oh, if you're on my team, you can do no wrong, and then and if you're on the wrong team,
that's the other side of it, is that they had their own harassment scandal that they tried to cover up. But the Green Ronin stands out for one important reason, which is that they were infusing left-wing politics into their games like more than 10 years before anybody else was. They were the ones that that pushed that concept of let's make our games political propaganda, like with Blue Rose and such. They were doing that before anyone was doing that. So they're the proto SJWs of the entire gaming hobby.
Yeah. Oh, and I think I've talked about this before in the show a long time ago, but his wife, I think, or whatever, she was the person that was on the board to like get all the Gen Con guests, featured guests every year.
Yeah, so, Nick Chick.
Yeah. So like, all these like woke people that they would, like Anita Sarkeesian and all this shit, that all went through Green Ronin, sort of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, fuck those people. Here's another bad one, which is really depressing, but Monkey House Games and Jeff D, enormous asshole and activist. It's true. I know. I've met Jeff D. You're a Republican. If you're a Republican, a conservative, or a Christian, he hates you. It's totally true. Like he's very, very opinionated, and I don't know. I guess bigoted would be the word. Like, I bought some original art from him. I got a couple pieces of original art, some DCC stuff, and some others, Cyborg Commando, and yeah, I've talked to him. He's like foaming at the mouth, kind of leftist, but he's also a great artist, and he's contributed to some amazing products. But yeah, you probably shouldn't support him if you don't want to support people who hate you. Evil Hat Productions, another poster child for woke gaming, embedded in everything from their forums to their products and staff. Openly tells you if you don't like politics, don't buy their games. Yeah, that's another pretty simple one. And same thing, like just like with Green Ronin. I mean, they've had their problems with. I'm pretty sure they like almost declared bankruptcy, or they did, and they didn't pay a bunch of people. Do you remember that whole thing, Pundit?
Vaguely, yeah. I mean, Evil Hat hasn't been super political for quite as long as Green Ronin, but they were also really early adopters of SJW politics in RPGs.
Okay, Occult or Masatare Games, Stockholm Cartel. They make Morkborg, or I even forgot how to say it. It's like Merkborg or something.
Yeah, it's Morkborg.
Uses OGL to shoot down authors they disagree with. Supports BLM and bailing out writers. So, I noticed. I never really got into Morkborg just because there's not much of a game there. There's nothing to design around really. I mean, it's super scaled down, and the classes
it's just edgy art. And somehow it fooled a whole bunch of OSR people. But it's kind of the perfect example of what.
I don't even like the art. The art is shit. It's just good layout.
Some people like it. I don't know, but it's a perfect example of why this list can be useful, because Morkborg in their advertising and in the way they look and in the promotion and stuff, you think, oh, it's a really cool OSR game, right? And you don't know about any of their personal politics. Now, again, as I think Aaron said in the live chat, if you don't think that matters, if you don't consider their politics egregious enough and you like the game and you want to buy it, well, that's your right. Absolutely. Nobody's saying these companies must be wiped from the face of the earth. But, I think it is useful to know this so that you can make an informed decision, right? If you say, well, I still want to buy the game, then go ahead and buy the game, whatever, right?
Yeah, but it's good to know,
That's right. And sometimes some of these companies are super transparent, but some of them you really don't know from their, they make a distinction between their tweeting, let's say, and the rest of their, promotion and marketing in such a way that they might fool you into buying their game. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure what he's talking about uses OGL to shoot down authors they disagree with. I mean, I think they're talking about, I've read through their third-party publishing thing, and it says, shit, I could pull it. That won't be. More board. It says, it's like, you know, the game is, I don't know if you've read it. Yeah, I bought it. It was only like $25 or something. Super cheap.
No, I haven't read it.
No. Okay, but yeah, so part of their like third-party license, they say, remember, make it dark, depressing, weird, and cruel. And by the way, let me just add to, like, the whole point of this game is that it's like the apocalypse. The entire world is ending, and these are, you know, you're in this group of whatever adventurers that are like maybe trying to turn back the darkness, but it's probably, you can just slow it down before the entire world dies, right? So here's what they say in their third-party license. Remember, make it dark, depressing, weird, and cruel. But let everyone partake in the suffering. Be sure to avoid sexist, racist, homophobic, and transphobic tropes and themes in your content. There's plenty of that crap in the real world already. The world of Mork Borg doesn't need it. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to make content. So if he's saying OGL, it does. If he means they're like third-party license, they like, you know, they revoke it to, you know, stop people from using it, like what the Stuart Robinson with the OSR fucking logo. Then I think maybe that's what he's trying to say there. Do you know?
That sounds like it, what it is, but no, I don't know the specific details. Maybe somebody in the comments will know.
Yeah. But anyway, when I read that, I was like, I would never write anything for this system. Fuck you. Like, if anyone's third-party thing is like, I'm going to tell you what kind of themes you can write about, I'm like, okay, well, then I'm not going to write for your system. Ass. All right, Sigil Stone Publishing, they do 5 Torches Deep, which I picked up and read, but now I found out here from the list here that bioessentialism, racism, and colonialism is a chapter in one of their books. So it's probably, you know, a hard pass. It wasn't that, I mean, I read it, it wasn't that good. I thought the layout was interesting, which is why I picked it up, and I wanted to kind of take a look at it for that reason. Okay, Reaper Miniatures, they fired a guy for criticizing Antifa on his personal page. Antifa supporters are automatic red. Worth that.
Yeah, that later got moved to yellow. I guess maybe there were some nuances about this situation.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Pelgrane Press, they do 13th Age. Thing about straight white guys is that they make great punching bags, is a quote from something. Still need a citation for this, but it's going red. Also published #feminism. So yeah, I mean, Pelgrane is, oh, he spelled it wrong, but Pelgrane is that's Robin D. Law's gaming company. I can't even remember. They've done multiple kind of woke ass things over the years, so I've never been a fan of any of Robin D. Law's stuff, really. He's like he reminds, you know, like how people bring in their past. Like, so your games pundit, it's obvious that you're like a history wonk, because a lot of your games are like, you know, simulating historical things, which is great. You know, it's like, it's awesome to be able to have a book where like you've distilled all that stuff down into tables and like index type of things that you can look up, you know. Robin D. Laws is like a theater nerd, obviously, like this hill system and shit.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, he totally is. But his systems like aren't very interesting, and he tries a lot to like simulate writing. Have you you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He tries to simulate writing, and it's just like these aren't fun games. Like you don't understand.
Yeah, he applies literary methods to RPGs, which is fundamentally an understanding of RPGs.
Yeah,
so,
I think so too. So
there's some other ones that have been added to the list. That in the update, Kobold Press Their guide to game mastering has a whole section telling the reader to check your privilege. The design mechanism released a video stating that if you voted for a certain political...
Wait. Is this... I want to add something on Kobold Press.
Yeah, go ahead. Kobold Press.
Okay.
Check your privilege.
Kobold Press fucking sucks. So, one of the things, you know, that Wolfgang Bauer, that's his company. So he did this, you know, earlier on, he did his own kind of version of, what did he call it? Oh, fuck. I forget, but he did his own thing where he would basically, people would pay to write products for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, he called it patronage. So, and I actually did this. So this is why I don't like them. So way back when I was still writing for like 4E type of stuff, I some of my friends were doing it, so I signed up to do his like patronage project for fuck, what was it called? The Lost City. So basically it was like you paid to like join this forum where you would design this game, and then all these people would write pitches, and then they would like Wolfgang or whoever the project leader is, I think it was Logan Bonner in this case, would like read through them, and then they would pick the ones that they wanted, that those people got picked to write chapters or monsters or whatever. So basically, I joined on this thing. I got selected. I wrote a chapter for this book. And basically, I figured it out. I got paid, like after subtracting the patronage, I got paid like 1.8 cents to write this fucking thing. 1.8 cents a word. And when I went to Gen Con, Wolfgang did this, breaking into game design, and he bragged that Kobold Press never paid below a penny for RPG design work. A penny a word. Right? I wish I could find this stuff now, because you put this shit up online and people are like, what the fuck? Like this guy who is
exploitation.
Right. They're, all these people that are like so woke, they are just like, yeah, I'll pay you 1.8 cents a word to like write this product, and then I'll sell it forever. Then on top of it, like he took one of the monsters, a few of the monsters I wrote, he put it in the Tome of Beasts. Have you ever heard of that one?
Vaguely, yeah. Yeah,
it's like a big 5e book where he's done it a couple times, but you can walk into any Barnes and Nobles, and they have the Tome of Beasts in there. So I pulled the first one, and I got paid 1.8 cents a word to write this monster. I look, and they had the credits, and I wasn't even credited, even though my monster was in his freaking book. And so I was like, hey man, that's not cool. You should at least put my name in there.
What a scam, really.
Yeah. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. And then, so now he spelled my name wrong. He spelled my last name with 2 N's. And I've emailed him twice, and they just released the new version. It's got fucking 2 N's in it. And I know he's just being a dick,
Jesus.
So anyway,
All
fuck
right.
that guy. Most of these woke companies, they're just like, yeah, we will totally exploit anybody, but my principles. I really don't understand that. Anyway, keep going. Sorry, I don't like Kobold.
That's okay. That's okay. It's an interesting story there. The design mechanism released a video stating if you vote for a certain political candidate, you're not welcome to buy their game. They have since deleted that video. Arcanist Press only make diversity products. Their entire company is based on being woke. Gen Con, a convention, but honorary assholes nonetheless. They're ban happy, see the Jeremy Hambley incident, the whole thing with new TSR, et cetera, et cetera.
So for people who don't know, that are listening to this and don't know who Jeremy Hambley is, he's a YouTube guy called The Quartering. Yeah. He went to Gen Con to like report on Magic the Gathering, other kind of stuff. And this scumbag dude, who was that guy's name? You remember his name?
Matt Fantastic.
Yes, Matt Fantastic. Who is some guy who was, apparently associated with some game design company and owns a game store. He came up behind Hambly when he was at a bar with, with his back to this dude, fucking starts punching him in the face from behind, and then when it was off the grounds of the convention, but when it was reported to Gen Con about this assault, Gen Con banned Jeremy Hambly from coming to the convention. They're coming back and ever returning. He's got a permanent lifetime ban.
Lifetime ban, yeah.
Yeah, the other guy was an exhibitor, and they let them finish their exhibit, but I guess the guy just left the floor. I don't think they actually banned him. They just he was just allowed to leave. And Jeremy sued, pressed charges, and sued, and got some undisclosed financial award. But Gen Con has still banned Jeremy.
Yeah, the guy had to issue a public apology.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Which was a fucking half-assed one too. I don't know if you remember that, but it was very.
I remember.
Yeah, it was very insincere.
Of course, I mean the guy isn't sorry at all. He was just forced to say that.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the Jeremy Hambly story in Gen Con, and Gen Con sucks. They were just it's all the people that are on that. That's Peter Atkinson, and he's super woke, just jerk. Honestly,
founder of Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, founder Wizards of the Coast, which is funny. There's some articles out there about the early culture at Wizards of the Coast, which was a lot of sex and drinking
going on all over the place. Yeah,
yeah, and but he gets a total pass for that. It was a frat boy fucking startup kind of scenario over there.
Yeah. So carrying on. Coyote and Crow, bunch of actual racists making a racist game, screeching about colonization, while the whole premise of their game is what if white people didn't exist. Magpie Games, Avatar Legends RPG, way into Black Lives Matter and diversity and inclusion, hired Daniel Kwan from Asians Represent YouTube channel. They tried to get Oriental Adventures banned from OBS and other storefronts, market their game as non-Western storytelling. Old Skull Publishing, Diogo Nogueira threatened to punch Venger at the next con he sees him at. Too bad Venger went to sleep. He might have found that interesting.
Diogo was tiny, man. He could kick his ass. I know Diogo.
Yeah. Also wants to get companies put on a game, put game not for fascists on the cover of every title. Games Workshop, IP owners and miniature producers, since we're including those for right now, honorary ding-dong. Crimes include general shittiness, going after people for copyright for material they themselves have stolen or borrowed from others, and other scummy business practices. They drank the Kool-Aid a while ago and have actually attacked fans of the franchise for wrongthink. Cool universe, but don't give them money if you don't have to. WizKids puts the pronouns of their models on the boxes now, also partnered with Hasbro. Arknight Publishing, Delta Green. The Delta Green Handler's Guide has a whole section on Trump. They're actually more hostile to Trump than they are to actual historical Nazis. And that's the list. Yeah.
All right, let's roll this over to the chat.
Looking at some of the comments from the chat here.
There we go.
What else have we got here? King Waspinator says, "I'm late. Tell me everything I missed." Sorry, King Waspinator. Some people commented that the chat seems to be really busy. Well, we do have like 50 people watching right now, so that makes sense. What else have we got? Just missed that. Here we go. Sadwings Raging says, quote, "Gather round for our 3-hour struggle session before we actually let you play our RPG." Paizo is more, Shadzar says, Paizo is more woke than Wizards of the Coast, but Hasbro is pushing Wizards of the Coast to be super woke. If you check the Hasbro whistleblower videos done by Project Veritas. Shadzar, I don't think, I mean, you're right that the Hasbro whistleblower video was really interesting, but I don't think Wizards of the Coast needs Hasbro to make them super woke. I think they're probably more woke than a lot of divisions of Hasbro by themselves, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Tarantule says Jessica Price worked for Paizo. She ripped apart a poor guy on the forum for daring to wonder why there's a trans dwarf as an iconic. Weirdly enough, she was fired soon after. Well, she was fired after because she was constantly attacking all of Paizo's customers, all of them, always. So at that time, at least there was a limit. But she failed up. She constantly fails up. She's been fired from every company she's been in. Now she's working with Wizards of the Coast. So. Mr. Triceratops says, how often has Jessica Price been fired? She must be an utterly useless employee if the only thing she brings is drama. Yeah, but her SJW credentials means that she just keeps getting hired by other SJWs and increasingly getting more profile. In fact, as Shadzar reminds us here, the moment Wizards hired her, the first thing she did, even before the product she participated in, which was Tasha's Cauldron, I think. No, it was Candlekeep, I think. The first thing she did before her product was out was cuss out Wizards customers on Twitter. Dracopol says, SJWs charge heavily even for PDFs because they're stuffing money in suitcases, cutting and running. They know they won't do supplement business. Jager says, the fact that Wizards of the Coast knows about her history, yet still hire Jessica Price is a sign of which direction they're heading in. Well, yeah. Mr. Triceratops says, honestly, Wizards of the Coast hiring practices sounds like a ton of nepotism is going on, just like any other big gaming company. Just hire your buddies who happen to share your political views. Well, yes, exactly. I mean, they're dedicated. As soon as they got enough SJWs in there to control who gets hired, they're only hiring SJWs. That's part of the standard entryism strategy, right? Jager says Quan and Price are useful to Wizards of the Coast because they're able to act as proxies for the D&D devs. Chadzar says Daniel Kwan is the one behind Oriental Adventures and DM's Guild disclaimer that Ernie Gygax argued against in his bunker interview. Yeah, well, besides that, Daniel Kwan then did an Asian-style adventure in Candlekeep Mysteries, which was in no way it was in no way better than Oriental Adventures, right? Like it showed that as someone who's studied a lot on the topic, it seems to be if Daniel Kwan actually knows a lot about Asian history and mythology or Asian mysticism or anything like that, he must have chosen intentionally not to put any of it in his adventure. It's super. It could have been written by any white guy. It doesn't make a difference. But of course, because he's not a white guy, that's enough as far as they're concerned, right? Let's see, what else have we got? Morkborg, make it, Mr. Triceratops says, Morkborg, make it edgy, but not offensive. You might upset someone. Yeah, like that's the problem with these guys. This is why the SJWs can't do comedy and they can't do good, music anymore. Because they're really
the same issue as Wehander, or whatever.
Yeah, the establishment will by definition not be able to do stuff that's actually edgy. They can only do fake edgy. Dracopol says Evil Hat is starting to ban any hint of males on the cover art of their short Fate World book supplements. Jager says Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, and Winninger are just smarter than the average leftist and insulate themselves with disposable shills like Quan and Price. Well, that might be true. I can't say for sure, but it certainly might be part of the tactic. The
Vihunter. Thank you,
Emily. What else have we got? Malky says, I do believe Matt Fantastic ended up being banned. The best part was that Matt had to make an apology video. Yeah, I believe Gen Con did also ban Matt Fantastic, but the thing is, you know, he can come back anytime he wants to, right? Like, you know that Jeremy Hambley, it was an excuse. Jeremy Hambley did nothing wrong. He was assaulted and they banned him for life, right? And they're never going to lift that ban on him.
Well, no, Jeremy Hambley did do something wrong, is that he fucking poked Wizards in the eye hard when he did that. I don't know if people know about this, but he got banned from, you know, he spoke his mind on YouTube. He got banned for, I don't know why. I think they just said he was like, you know, they didn't like him for whatever reason. They banned him from ever playing Magic again, which was his favorite game. So he got pissed and he went out and he like pulled the list of like Magic the Gathering judges or something that he could pull, and he ran it through and found like people that were literally
the registered sex offenders.
Sex offenders. And so he posted the list, and he caused a lot of issues for Wizards, and I'm sure that's why they wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah, but that was just, you know, that was the real reason why they banned him, is because they don't like him. But in the assault situation, it wasn't a fight. It wasn't, you know, the two of them shouting profanity at each other and then getting into a fist fight. It was Matt Fantastic came out of nowhere and sucker punched Jeremy Hambley and assaulted him, and Jeremy Hambley did not fight back. He tried to get away from the guy. He didn't participate in any way. He didn't assault Matt Fantastic. It was a one-sided attack, right? It was,
and extremely cowardly too. I mean, to come up from someone from behind who's seated.
But you know, these guys are all cowards.
Yeah. Well, this guy was supposedly like does Krav Maga and all this other shit, you know, and then what he does is come up behind a seated fat man and like beats the crap out of him, like.
Adino the Enzite says, the Esnite, sorry, says, speaking of Coyote and Crow, their latest Kickstarter update says they're going to be late, and they're also increasing the price of the core book. All right. We'll see if it ever comes out. What else have we got here?
You're going deep in the chat log there. I can't even see the stuff you're talking about.
Well, I went all the way back to
when good point. Yeah, I don't want to miss anyone's comments.
Regarding Coyote and Crow, Dracopol says, typical, if you're leftist and anti-capitalist, you'll be bad at business, and your Kickstarter is a risky investment. But remember, most people who support those kinds of Kickstarters, it's not really about getting the book. It's about saying how much you support those Kickstarters, right? It's just they're not paying for a book. They're not paying for a game they're going to play. They're paying for the virtue signaling value of it.
Absolution.
Right? That's all. Yeah, absolution.
Indulgences. Exactly. The indulgences don't work.
Yeah. So I think I've gotten to the end there. Mr. Triceratops just said, quick, get Pundit to read out a dirty word. All right. So anything else to talk about today, or should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we went kind of long, huh? Yeah, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, it's longer than usual, but we had a large crowd today. Thank you to everyone who showed up. I think you were showing the subscribe button a little bit earlier, so
yeah, I tried to play it once. Yeah, so please subscribe if you want to subscribe. If you haven't watched before and you haven't subscribed, we have a goat demon that comes up if you just subscribe. So
during a live stream,
during the live stream. So
if you haven't subscribe right now.
Oh god, people are asking about Brutal Blades again. I'm still working on it. I'm trying to haul ass to get like a printed version, like a playtest version of it before GaryCon, so March 2022. So I'm commissioning art as I go along through this. So you know, I'll show some art maybe next month when we do it. But it's still moving, and I'm definitely going to get like a smaller version of the rules, you know, maybe levels 1 through 3 or something. Yes, there we go. The giant robot just subscribed. So if you're watching the stream, you can see our goat demon.
All right. Thank you for subscribing.
Thank you very much. Anyway,
is that you dressed up as a goat demon, Job? Tell us the truth.
you know what? I just found that. I don't know if I could actually even legally use it. Honestly, I don't know. It was an animated GIF that I found. I'm not sure where it came from or, but I just like it.
Yeah. Shadzar says, I can't be the only one viewing on Twitch. It gets lonely over there.
Oh, man, I didn't even check the chat over there this time.
If you want, keep in mind that we also live stream on Twitch at the same time as on YouTube.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm over there.
I'm a YouTube guy
viewer.
myself, but there are people who are Twitch people, and we need to promote that a bit more, I think, Job.
Yeah, you know, we got a raid. I don't even understand what this crap is called, but some other streamers raided our channel the last time that we did it. But that was 2 months ago, because last month there was some weirdness where it wouldn't stream, so I just had to cut it out and not do it.
And what does it mean when they raid your channel? They just
I think it means like a bunch of people at once go into the room or something. Like you take your audience from one room to another or something.
Oh, really?
So it was like, yeah, it was like tavern. I don't know. Oh, damn, we got another one. Nice.
Well, I tell you, post something on Twitter, and I'll repost it or something with the link to the Twitch.
All right, thank
Adino the Esnight. All right, nice to have you. I've seen you commenting on our live chat, Adino. Thank you for subscribing.
Thank you very much.
And be sure, guys, to share this video after and to keep promoting us. Check out my individual channel, and Venger also has a channel. You can check that out if you really want to.
All right.
But check out my channel for sure. And yeah, I guess we're just about done, right? We hopefully we'll get Grim Jim as a guest star sometime soon as whatever his medical issues are resolved. We hope, and we'll see. I don't know if that'll be next time or not, but we'll figure it out. Incidentally, our next show should be on the 26th of September, I believe. Is that right? 4 weeks from now.
2, 3, 4. 26th, yeah?
Yeah, September 26th. So
Yep.
You guys can already make a mark on your calendar so you don't miss it. I don't know if we'll have Grim Jim or if we're going to have just the three of us or what we're going to be doing yet, but we'll let you know.
We can help. Maybe we can get Sandy. We should have Grim Jim first.
Well, whichever of the two. If Sandy Peterson wants to come on at long last, that would be great.
Yeah. I don't know if he watched the last episode. He might be like...
He might be pissed at me. Well,
yeah.
I'm just calling it like it is. I hope he knows that about me by now. I'd still be very glad to have him on and talk about everything. But I do think he was given some bad advice there.
Yeah, I agree. Whatever. It'll be good if we get him. I'd love to have Grim as well. Be like the whole gang is back together. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm really curious to see what Grim Jim has to say for himself, as whether he's still defending to the death the idea of the forever lockdown or not.
I follow him on Twitter. I'm pretty sure he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So we probably will have some interesting conversation about that at some point.
Yeah. All right, sweet. Thanks everyone for showing up.
All right, guys. So we're gonna see you in 4 weeks. Thank you so much, and well, please share the video.
Thank you.
Currently smoking, Ben Wade, Canadian, and Argental Atakia.